I watched Rope for the first time last night with some friends. I love bottle movies like this, or movies set in any story set in one location for the entire time. And this really, literally, is in only one location the entire film, and it's so great because the setup is basically, and this is like the first scene of the movie. No spoilers here, really, but the very beginning, these two young men kill someone else with a rope. They just like strangle him or whatever, throw him in this trunk, basically in this like chest in the middle of this apartment. I believe it's one of their apartments, and there's people that come over for a dinner party, and just the entire movie you're thinking about that dead body in the trunk, and it's awesome. And it's so awesome as far as how like the characters have all these simple kind of you know easy conversations, like small talk kind of throughout the whole movie. It's all them talking about like the movie through the dialogue gives so much expository about like who the characters are in relation to each other, and you're just you're paying attention, and you're getting to know these characters while also having that in the back of your mind. So a lot of that small talk, it intentionally, it's like that dialogue is suddenly used as I almost want to say as like Chekhov's gun or something in the I don't know if that's like if that falls under that, but the scene is used, or all the characters are used as just like a placeholder for the real big, what's actually going on, the big picture of the situation. And I really love that about it. Like, until James Stewart comes into it and starts, seeing all the suspicious, like he just sees how their behavior is a little weird. Someone makes a joke about one of them strangling a chicken, and the guy reacts, like gets real tense and reacts like so pissed off suddenly, and he's the only one who doesn't like ignore that. Like everyone else is kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt, or just kind of oblivious to that stuff. Like what I notice is that all the other characters are kind of self-involved, or they're so focused on like just their own social problems and their own day-to-day kind of issues going on, that they just don't seem to notice that, or they shrug it off. It's just like, oh, okay, they're being weird. But James Stewart is the only one that's like, something's not right here. And it's just really fantastic how it's written, and it proves just once again, like most of his films, how Hitchcock is just a fantastic director. It was a very smart choice to have minimal cutting. I think this movie has like 3 or 4 cuts in it total. It feels like they mainly use, this is probably one of the earlier films that tried to do that too. Like just one, if it was made today, they probably would try to do it all in one continuous take. But there are a lot of moments that you can see, like a character walks in front of the screen and it closes in on his back, and then it moves to another. The shot kind of keeps moving. You can tell that they had to find those little moments in passing to kind of to create that to have a cut and be able to shoot the scene separately without it looking like it was a cut. Very similar to like how they do it in like Birdman, or anytime you see a movie that's trying to be shot as one sequence, they just, anytime there's a moment of black or the colors kind of blend into one kind of thing to get, like anytime the image suddenly becomes very solid or more broad, that's the sign of like where they cut it, right? So it's funny seeing that with what we know nowadays in filmmaking. Like, I've seen a lot of movies like this where they're trying to be shot in one sequence, that you can see the differences. There's one scene that stood out to me where James Stewart is about to eat ice cream. He's holding like 2 things of ice cream with pound cake, and it leads up to like one of those behind the back shots like I was talking about. A character kind of blocks the shot, and then it cuts to him, cuts to the next sequence or whatever, and he starts like eating from the ice cream later in the scene. Now you can tell that they put a cut in there because the ice cream before looks I watched it in 4K UHD. That shit looks very fake, and then they do the cut and he actually starts eating it. And that was a very intelligent way of knowing like they didn't have to have real ice cream there. And then especially back then where it's like the image quality was so different, they could get away with that. But that was very smart. This movie has a lot of like smart filmmaking techniques, and I honestly think this, along with maybe like 12 Angry Men and some other specific classics that use minimalism to its advantage, when the story has a minimalistic approach. And it's good that both these movies are short. I think that always works better as a shorter movie, other than like maybe, if you are doing something like Birdman, even Birdman, by Alejandro Inarritu. He that movie is long, but there's a lot more exciting moments. Obviously, if you're gonna have a movie like this it's just dialogue driven the whole time and it's just talking, it's better to keep that short. Breakfast Club is short. A lot of movies where it's just characters just engaging with each other and not much like action going on, you really want to think about that runtime. But this movie honestly should be a standard that's shown in film, in any sort of film appreciation class or film school. Like I think that Rope is like a perfect standard. Like how do you technically make a movie good? Every bit of this movie from a technical standpoint is very well done. Very well done. Good script. It's good direction. It's got great acting in it. It's got a great just synopsis. Just the plot itself is very good, as well as the writing of the how the dialogue again is used as kind of a driving force that builds tension. It builds tension without having to do much at all. Like this whole movie is just people kind of talking while there's a dead body in there, and yet it feels extremely uncomfortable. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for that cause and effect moment. That has to happen at some point in the story. The audience, as an audience member, that reveal has to happen, or else what the hell? What is the point of the story, right? So when just the way that unravels. This movie is so good at how everything just kind of happens and unravels in its own way, and the pacing of it is very good. All the actors are just like older. It's lovely seeing older movies because they're all like theater actors most of the time. I assume that was at a time where people studied acting for the theater, and then they just happened to. It's even shot like it could be like a play, and it's even shot like it's in a theater, and you're just kind of witnessing all this stuff happening. But the actors are so succinct, and so like you could tell how much they rehearsed these scenes and how much work went into them focusing on just the pacing alone. It felt like they had a lot of dialogue to get through, that just if they wanted, the fact that like I'm sure Hitchcock wanted the runtime to not be too back then. If you're gonna set a movie in one location, I think they just instinctually they just knew that like you have to make sure that it's moving, or else it's gonna feel kind of stagnant. If you're gonna have it be in one solitary place, then everything else around that has to have some life to it. So that's what the actors kind of bring to that, is the script just pops off, like it pops through the actors in the way that they are so like on top of the scene. Like this movie has just really good scene work, and the rhythm of that and the pace. It's fantastic. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, and if you're looking to get into more just more classic films, more of Hitchcock's stuff. I think there are only a few that I haven't seen of his. I've seen all the main classics like The Birds, Rear Window, Psycho, and Vertigo, and North by Northwest. I've seen all of his main ones, but now I'm just like with most other directors that I really appreciate and go through their work, I still have to watch a couple more of Kubrick's films. I got Dr. Strangelove recently, so I'm excited about watching more of these and talking about more of these classic films, because watching these in comparison, there are still good movies coming out nowadays. Obviously, very very small amount of them in comparison to how many good movies were coming out at one point in the 20th century, but watching this is just a reminder of like, I really got to like check off more of these boxes and watch more of these just standard, again, really well made. These movies are just there's so much thought and attention and care put into it that you rarely see as often nowadays. You got Hitchcock, who made like a bunch of classic movies and a bunch of really good films because he was good at what he did, even though he was not that great of a guy. That doesn't matter. He as far as like in the context of cinema history, that like what his work is what we should take away from that. Obviously, not him being a gross old man who blacklisted women that didn't want to have sex with him. But yeah. Check out Rope, regardless of everything I just said about him in the last 15, 20 seconds there. Check out Rope and check out Hitchcock's other more, lesser known movies for sure.